You want it to be one way.
What?
You want it to be one way.
Man, I don't
You want
know
it to be
what
one
Man,
way.
stop. Stop saying that.
But it's the other way.
Well, last night the card was great. A little bit of controversy. Teofimo Lopez, JAMAINE ORTIZ. Controversial decision. KEYSHAWN Davis, he's now a contender. Great performance against Jose Pedraza. Abdullah Mason is definitely one of those guys to look forward to in the 135-pound division once he leaves the prospect area and becomes a contender as well. Also, it looks like Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia has finally got it all squared away. Paperwork is done. They're expecting to meet each other in the square circle April 20th. A lot to unpack, but you know how we do it. It's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show. Let's go! Yup. It's your boy Rain. It's the ATP Combat Media Show. Bring it in. Welcome one, welcome all. Shout out to all my subscribers. Everybody who's this is the first time coming to the channel, I advise you go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Go ahead and hit the bell icon so you all get an alert for all the content that's dropping. Well, it's the night after Devin, it's the night, I'm about to say Devin. We're going to get into that as well, but it is the night after Teofimo Lopez and JAMAINE ORTIZ had their showdown, and a lot of surprises in the evening. Well, we'll start with the undercard, right? And I won't go that deep into it. I'll just start at Abdullah Mason. Abdullah Mason, once again, just showing who he is, man. He's going to be one of those guys that everybody needs to pay attention to, and probably needs to pay attention to it right now. He got a stoppage, a nice overhand left in the second round. Was able to stop. I can't remember his first name, but Gurment. Another prospect that he knocked out. He's just showing that the people he's getting in the ring with are just not on his level. I mean, ultimately, I don't know what Top Rank's trajectory is for him for his next fight. I would think they'd want to put him up, start getting the competition up a little bit better, get him ready to become a contender. When you look at KEYSHAWN Davis, who's sitting right now, I believe at 10 fights and 7 stoppages, whatever it might be, off the top of my head. Abdullah Mason has pretty much the same record. I would just say, obviously, the level of competition that he's fighting is a little different than what KEYSHAWN's been fighting. He can get in there in the ring, and I don't know who I'd put him up against next. I honestly have 2 fights that I would see him up in there with next. I would like to see him up against Alan Garcia. He's the guy who replaced Emiliano Vargas on the card, stopped his opponent in the first round with a nasty body shot, bad intentions. That'd be a nice fight to see him with, or maybe even Emiliano Vargas, although a lot of these fights, they're probably going to want to build them up and have them for Abdullah Mason when he becomes pro. I mean, he is pro. Let me not saying that. When he becomes a contender, when he leaves the prospect area of boxing and goes into being a contender, I can see big fights being lined up with the likes of an Emiliano Vargas and things of that nature. So bright future for him. Eager to see what Top Rank has planned for him for his future. Once again, like I said, second round knockout, not competitive at all, just really doing what he's supposed to do. You're not supposed to let those guys who are not supposed to be in the ring with you be in the ring with you. There's no reason to drag it out. Get him out of there and show the world, show Top Rank, show everybody like I'm levels above all these guys and I'm ready for way bigger things. Also on that undercard, obviously we can go. There was also a fight. I can't remember if it was lightweight or not, or maybe even junior lightweight or lightweight, but it was between. It was two Mexican fighters. I'm trying to remember what their names are. It was a decent little fight. But moving on to the next fight with KEYSHAWN Davis and Jose Pedraza, which was really, potentially the fight of the night. KEYSHAWN Davis came out really focused. He really showed a lot of poise in the ring tonight. I think everybody wanted to see what he was going to look like coming back from that marijuana issue that he had, and actually had pushed out the Jose Pedraza fight to today because to yesterday, because the fight was supposed to happen way earlier, actually at the end of last year, but because of that marijuana charge, he got suspended for a few months. But he came back clean, owned up to all his issues, focused on his craft, committed to the sport, said that he had a whole new revitalized commitment to the sport, and he wanted to show the world that he was different starting with that fight last night. Well, I think he did that pretty efficiently. Coming out very tight, Jose Pedraza was pressuring him very early in the fight, trying to walk KEYSHAWN down, trying to pressure him and really give KEYSHAWN that look that he needed. He was able to weather that. Around by the third round or so, KEYSHAWN had pretty much processed everything that Jose Pedraza was bringing to the fight, and he was able to just navigate through it, catching him very tight on the inside as Jose Pedraza was trying to smother him. He was able to take shots off in a little bit of space and make them count. Ultimately, in the sixth round, stopping Jose Pedraza, just getting ready to knock him out, but the referee jumped in there. It was a TKO stoppage, and it was a good stoppage in my opinion. He was getting ready to get knocked out. KEYSHAWN definitely made a statement now that he's a contender, because this fight did bring him from prospect into contender. He did at the end of the fight call out Teofimo Lopez. I'm not sure, if that's what he wants to do. I think there's a lot of great fights for him to make at 135, potentially even getting a title shot in the next 2 or 3 fights maybe. But it's up to him, obviously, whatever he feels like he's ready to do. I think one of the key things about KEYSHAWN that makes him special is obviously his talent that he has, but also the people that are around him, from the Shakur Stevensons to the Terrence Crawfords to Bomac to his own brothers. He has a lot of high level, high pedigree fighters around him, and when he's sparring them and they're exchanging information, and he's learning from the best in the game right now, literally underneath the pound for pound best fighter in the game, Terrence Crawford. I think these are the intangibles that build KEYSHAWN to who he really is and who he can be. Even his ability to own up on how he smoked, him smoking marijuana was such a negative thing for him, and he may be able to see that. I have to give credit to the people in his camp that were able to speak life into him and let him know, like, listen, your stance on wanting to stand up for the right to smoke marijuana is okay, but this is about decisions. You're not like everybody else. You have an opportunity. You have a small window in your life to take advantages of opportunities like this when you're an athlete, while you're in your best condition, to be able to take advantage of it and make as much money as you can to take care of your family, all the way from generational wealth that you can make for your kids to come. Don't sacrifice all that just so you can hit a joint. And they were able to bring him out of that, and he came back in rare form against Jose Pedraza. Defensively, so responsible, so smart, intelligent. Really just showed hints of Terrence Crawford with hints of Shakur Stevens. You could see the effect of the people that he's working with in his camp and how he's becoming a manifestation of and a culmination of all of their talents. So shout out to KEYSHAWN Davis. Real excited to see what your next fight is going to be. Moving on to the main event on the card, which was JAMAINE Ortiz and Teofimo Lopez. Once again, going into this fight, wondering about how Teofimo Lopez's mentality was going to be going into this fight. He seems to be dealing with dysfunctionality in his camp, between him and his father, between him and his, his baby mother, just with boxing itself. Just so many different things that led up into this fight, and him also speaking about putting boxing on his shoulders and bringing boxing back and being the only one who he could do it. I wondered if that was even too much pressure for him. I can remember Teofimo coming into the back when the cameras found him, and he just seemed lethargic a little bit, a little tired, a little bit out of it. Didn't really know what to say about it. But regardless, when it was time for him to come into the ring, first of all, he had a great entrance into the ring. I enjoyed it. It threw me off a little bit in the beginning, but I was able to enjoy it and give him credit for having a great. He came in as a circus, kind of like a circus ringleader, and he had people like swallowing swords and juggling and playing with fire and acrobatic girls, and it was a lot going on. The music was great. He made his way into the ring, and he seems like the entrance into the ring rejuvenated him, like he just got a second breath of energy. Came in the ring, and I'm like, all right, well, let's see what Teofimo's going to come with. JAMAINE Ortiz, his normal stoic self, just calm, came in the ring. Had somebody singing some Spanish music, some Spanish hip-hop music, some reggaeton, I guess you'd call it. And shout out to both of them, had decent entrances. But as the fight started, the first thing I noticed was that JAMAINE Ortiz came out southpaw, right? that was interesting. I think we all know that Jermaine Ortiz is a switch hitter and he can fight on both sides, but him coming out on southpaw, without a doubt, you could see that Teofimo saw that and it was something for him to adjust to. And I'll be honest with you, I just never saw him actually adjust to that southpaw position, as Jermaine Ortiz really depend on his athleticism in this fight. He really showed the levels to this game that he could hit, moving around, spinning Teofimo constantly, frustrating him by around the 4th, 5th round, was really frustrating him, and Teofimo was trying to figure out what to do. Well, some people might say he figured out to do, or, you know, maybe conveniently or inconveniently, Teofimo Lopez getting inside of him, trying to get up and out of there, headbutted Jermaine Ortiz. I believe it was in the 5th or the 6th round when he headbutted him and opened up this huge gash over his left eye. I mean, it was really deep. I was concerned as to whether or not the fight would have been stopped or not, as the doctors did take time to go ahead and look at that. But listen, Jermaine Ortiz was able to maintain, protect that eye, still keep that movement going on. Shout out to his cut man, because ultimately the cut man did such a good job that it didn't even leak again until I think around the 8th or 9th round, when Teofimo was able to catch him, knock a wad of that Vaseline out of that hole that was in his head, and you saw him start leaking again. But once again, making it through that round, getting back to the corner, the cut man was able to put it back together, and Jermaine Ortiz was just staying on his grind. Now, a lot of people feel like, you know, I just feel like Teofimo wasn't able to find himself, and he wasn't able to properly adjust to what Jermaine Ortiz was showing him, finding a hard time to cut the ring off. He just was doing a horrible job trying to cut the ring off with Jermaine Ortiz. Ortiz was doing a great job of turning him around, making him pay. The counter punching was there. I really feel like Jermaine Ortiz won the fight, but, you know, a controversial decision, as the scorecards came in, I believe 117-111, and 2 cards was 115-113. So, you know, the 2 that were 115-113, I guess you can kind of see it going either way, depending on what you value in the fight. You know, judges have their boxes that they need checked before they can give you a round. And I guess the judges in this fight were more concerned about pressure, more concerned about the fight happening, who was trying to make the fight happen, and they saw Teofimo's way. They felt like he was the only one trying to make the fight happen. A lot of fans, or casual fans in the space, were saying that they felt like Jermaine Ortiz was running around the ring, running away from Teofimo. I don't co-sign that. I don't subscribe or co-sign that assessment. I think he was just doing a great job boxing, just moving around, not giving Teofimo what he wanted, which is an opportunity to fight off his back foot, making him fight off of his front foot. You know, sometimes styles make fights, and fights can be boring when styles come together and collide. They seem to neutralize sometimes. They seem to neutralize each other at times. And I feel like that might have been the case in this fight. But I enjoyed the fight, but regardless of the decision, I personally did not agree with it. But also, I went from robbery last night, that's how I felt about it, to today, where I was like, all right, well, you know, different strokes for different folks. If you did like the aggression, I'm not going to act like Jermaine Ortiz was aggressive. A lot of people feel like in order to actually become a champion, that at the end of the day, you need to go and get the belt. You need to step to the champion, fight him in a way to where you're taking the championship off of him. They don't feel like they want to reward the kind of behavior or the kind of style of fighting that Jermaine Ortiz brought to the table, which was more of a, you know, control the distance, establish the distance, and keep Teofimo on his front foot and not allow him to fight off his back foot. So he did lose the fight, Jermaine Ortiz, that is, and Teofimo won a controversial decision. The crowd did not seem very happy with it. I think a lot of professional boxers and analysts and trainers in the game also disagree with it, but then again, there were a lot of boxer trainers who understood exactly why the decision came that way. You know, to each their own. Jermaine Ortiz went into this fight knowing what he was facing. You know, him fighting against Lomachenko and losing the way he did against Lomachenko, he should have understood that in that second, you know, half of the fight, that last 3 to 4 rounds of that fight, that he should have tried to hit that second gear. And I said that, if you guys play back my breakdown of what I thought would happen going into the fight, or what needed to happen for Jermaine Ortiz to win the fight. One of the main things was in that second half of the fight, he needed to hit that second gear. Really needed to show those judges and really create a space between him and Teofimo to make it clear that he won the fight. Him taking his foot off that gas and coasting to those last rounds, he did the same thing that happened to him in the Lomachenko fight, and the same thing as far as the decision as well, because a lot of people felt like Jermaine Ortiz won that fight against Lomachenko, but once again, because of the way he handled those last 3 to 4 rounds of the fight, the judges just weren't convinced and weren't comfortable enough with giving him a championship or taking a championship off of Teofimo. When you saw Teofimo was clearly pursuing and trying to make a fight happen, he wanted to make a statement, obviously, and Jermaine Ortiz just got in the way of that happening. I did have him winning, but I don't have too much of an issue of the decision. Although, like I said, I really just didn't see how if you were scoring that fight round for round, I didn't see where Teofimo won more rounds than Jermaine Ortiz, if that's worth 2 cents to anybody. But that's how that went. Now, in other news today as well, so a fight is now scheduled and signed, and the contract is done for Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia to fight. So hence answering a lot of questions to people who were saying that his Santa Martin was his mandatory and that he'd have no choice but to fight Santa Martin, and that Santa Martin would not take step-aside money. Well, I think questions are being answered there just in what we're looking at now, that on April 20th, 2024, Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia actually will be fighting each other, and Ryan Garcia will be trying to take off the WBC championship belt off of Devin Haney. That's going to be a great fight. You know, these guys have a great history with each other, and the amateurs fighting 6 times. I believe the urban legend is it's 3 apiece. Devin Haney winning the last of those 6 fights, and ultimately a rival since they've been professional. Devin Haney's been trying to fight Ryan Garcia even when they were at 135. So, you know, I think this is going to be a great fight. I do believe that Ryan Garcia has best to make sure that he improves on a lot of the holes in his game that I saw when he fought against Oscar Duarte. Now, he has time for that, about 2 months or so, to get that squared away, and I'm hoping that he will have that squared away, because that won't work with the Devin Haney. He can take advantage of those issues and potentially give Devin Haney an opportunity to stop Ryan Garcia. Devin Haney, obviously, I believe, knows what he needs to be worried about, that left hook, right? As far as the boxing IQ is concerned, I think most people will agree and understand that Devin Haney is the better pound-for-pound boxer than Ryan Garcia. But Ryan Garcia brings that left hook to the fight that nobody can sleep on. That left hook is fast, and it can stop anybody at any given time. It's an equalizer. So because of that, we got a dog in the game. Devin Haney has to be cautious of that and prepare accordingly for who he's going to fight. But I do believe if he does prepare accordingly, 100% Devin Haney beats 100% Ryan Garcia every day of the week. I think if he makes a good game plan with his team, namely his father, people of that order, I believe there's a good chance that Devin Haney can have an easy time winning this fight. But we'll see. Time will tell the story. We never know what it's going to be until it is, right? So I believe they got into a little scuffle a little bit earlier today too. Maybe a couple of hours ago, got into a little physical scuffle. You guys can take it for whatever it's worth, whether it was choreographed or whether it was by accident. Regardless, there's eyes on it. It's bringing the attention to it. I'm sure both these guys stand to make a lot of money on this fight if the pay-per-view sells the way it should. So expect more semantics. Expect more foolery and a hot press conference. I'm sure when they have their first press conference, it's going to be extra hot, I'm sure, as well. So it's another great fight. One of the four kings again fighting each other again, giving the fans what they want to see, which is great fights. And this is an action-packed fight and an opportunity for both men to make a lot of money. So we'll see what happens with that. You guys go ahead and leave your comments in the comment section. Let me know what you thought about the fight last night. Who was the fight of the night last night? How did you feel about KEYSHAWN Davis? Did he show you guys what you guys needed to see to make KEYSHAWN Davis the goods? Now, another factor in the 135-pound division, another athletic fighter, a puncher, boxer in KEYSHAWN Davis. That just adds and puts another name in the bag for potential great fights that can be made at 135 pounds. When you're talking about Frank Martin, when you're talking about obviously Gervonta Tank Davis, not Arnold Barboza, excuse me, he's at 140. But, all the great fighters at 135. I think that's just another fighter they bring to the table to make big fights. Edwin De Los Santos. Ooh, excuse me, it is late, and I'm putting this content out for you guys, trying to show some consistency here with the content. But let me know what you think about that fight. KEYSHAWN Davis being a new contender right now with a great victory and a spectacular performance against Jose Pedraza. Tell me what you think Teofimo's next fight should be. I think that's going to be interesting, right? The crowd didn't seem very pleased with the decision, but at the end of the day, he is your WBO champion. He is our lineal champion in the 140-pound weight class division. Me personally, if you guys are asking me, I'd like to see him go ahead and address Subriel Matias. I think that'd be a great fight for him. I think stylistically, that gives him an opportunity to be in an exciting fight, build his brand up. He gets an opportunity to collect another belt for a unification title and become a unified champion at 140 pounds. It just makes the fight between him and Devin Haney that much better, or even him and whoever the winner between Rolly and Isak Cruz is going to be with that WBA title, excuse me. So things to think about, guys. Tell me what you think about that. Tell me what you think about Devin and Ryan fighting. Is that a great fight? You guys excited to see this fight? Who do you think is going to win at this point? Who do you favor going in there and why? How does Ryan win the fight? How does Devin win the fight? Etc., etc. Put it all in the comment section. Let me know what you think. But until then, it's your boy Claymore Rain. This is the ATP Combat Media Show, and at this point, we out.
They hate when you elevate. You're stacking up losses, I'm handing them out, yeah, I had to go delegate. It feel like I'm floating, I'm lost in the moment, I swear I could levitate.